13th, 2024. And I put in the caption, what are they going to do now? What DEM going to do now? You play a little games with the system because you know how they are. You know, they get your feeds, and if it's choppy, please let me know. But what DEM going to do now? Trump and Elon Musk broke the internet yesterday. If you go to the trending topics, Trump and Elon Musk is like pretty much shut it down yesterday. So I'm wondering what DEM going to do. So listen, I don't have no skin in the game. We don't have here at A Better Black America TV. We are open-minded. We are nonpartisan independents. And, you know, the October surprise is pretty much is going to decide the presidential election this year. And the Trump campaign is pulling, you know, all its, you know, it's doing everything, you know, that's needed to galvanize the people, because we're living in time and they're literally being, you know, interactive. They're being, you know, transparent. The Trump administration is being, you know, innovative, because if you really want to know what's going on, it's literally a copy, you know, a situation where individuals copy each other's campaign. Trump said that no tax on tips, and that went viral. And then all of a sudden, Kamala Harris, you know, she goes out and she's no tax on tips, you know, reading her teleprompter. And, you know, Trump immediately came out on his social media platform and pretty much talked about how, you know, she pretty much stole the idea, but they're being so innovative. I really want to know what the next move is going to be for the Dems. And when I say the next move, the game is chess, not checkers. And we got to understand, you know, we're dawning on something that we've never seen before. Like for an individual who majored in political science, an individual who studies the Constitution, an individual who pretty much, you know, commentates, you know, politics as if it was a 14 event. So I'm not here to entertain today. You know, it's the entertainment shows are coming, but a lot of times we got to react to what in the world today. And I decided to just jump on, you know, at this present time, you know, 5 a.m. on the West Coast, 5 a.m. on the West Coast, 8 a.m. on the East Coast, because my feeds have been getting, you know, seems like targeted. And when I say being targeted, just like the Trump campaign, they're trying to hack, you know, their computer systems and all of that. So that means, you know, any of us laymen's, we could be hacked as well. And I know I'm actually on the list based on my background, some people in high places. So I know I got an agent. I know I got, you know, some people assigned to me to watch what I'm doing and what I'm saying. And I know that we're on, you know, this particular platform. And I know that they pretty much, you know, regulate, you know, for commercials like that. So I'm hoping that I can actually figure this thing out. So pray for me as I pray for you. So DEM gonna do. Now, Trump and Elon Musk broke the internet yesterday. And if you did not know, Elon Musk, like I said, you do know. But if you didn't know, Elon Musk, Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter, and he has 194 million followers himself on his own platform. So he pretty much opened the gamut, or opened the door for hundreds of millions of voters to chime in on the conversation yesterday. And they spoke for approximately 2 hours, you know, just communicating about what happened, transparent, kind of like a Joe Rogan style podcast. I'm sitting back and saying, this is a stroke of genius. And I'm looking at the campaign strategist, because I'm a campaign manager, a campaign strategist as well. But to sit back and this happens, and how they're maneuvering around and changing the game. And then when you out in front, that means, you know, you out you know, in the lead. And when I say you're out in the lead, you know, I always like to infuse biblical context, because the Bible is about politics. If you did not know that, in the book of Revelation, the white horse got out with his crown and bow, meaning winning victories in many battles. So when you're the front runner, when you're the lead dog or the lead horse or the lead candidate in this situation, you have your petition following. So when you sit down with Elon Musk this week on a Monday, and last week you sat down with one of the largest streamers in the business and have a trend conversation, approximately 2 hours of just going back and forth, just having a general conversation, this is when you are literally setting the trend. So I'm excited what's actually going to happen next. I'm excited to see what's going on, but I really want to know what the next move is going to be for the Democratic Party. And like I said, Kamala Harris does not do personal interviews. Kamala Harris does not answer questions, Q&As. She doesn't. So what is he going to do? So I want to know what the Dems' next move going to be. Is Kamala Harris going to basically jump on the internet? But her team reached out to a social media influencer and a Twitch streamer by the name of Kai Sinai. And Kai Sinai did a live stream and said that the Secret Service of Kamala reaching out to him. And he pretty much went ballistic because he says he don't know anything about politics. He could care less about Kamala Harris because he has uncles and a father who pretty much told him the whole story about the Democratic Party. And he don't want to get involved in politics. And it comes and see that the Harris administration wants to have a conversation to sit down with this African American, this black kid, and go online and pretty much talk to him about, her getting on it because they're trying to follow and do what Trump is doing. So clear as day that the American people see exactly what's going on. It's clear as day that, the Democratic Party really does not have a plan. They're trying to, copy, cut and paste and do exactly, what other candidate is doing. But when you're not a polarizing personality, when you're not a people person, when you're not a master communicator, it's hard to resonate with the people. So when you do your rallies with your, teleprompters and things like that, that does not resonate. That's old school. You're going to have to sit down and have a conversation. And if you didn't know, in black social media, there's a brother by the name of Dr. Umar Johnson, who pretty much, basically showed a screenshot of a message that the Harris campaign has reached out to him. And he said he would love to do a interview with her. Okay. But there has to be, it can't be scripted. It has to be broadcast live. It has to be, and he basically said that he want to ask about, affirmative actions. He want to talk about a black plan, the whole nine. And sadly, the Harris campaign, thanks, but no thanks. So when you sit back and really understand what's really going on, we're dawning on a day and time that we haven't seen this before. And this is why we are so blessed to be living in these days and time, because this, from a political perspective, it's innovative. And when Trump beat Hillary, okay, and like I said, we're not Trump supporters, we're nonpartisan, undecided. But when Trump beat Hillary, they pretty much, used a system that pretty much was different and that was innovative. So when you are a game changer, when you are a businessman, when you are a man who's pretty much, is on, and you are pretty much, the man behind the scenes. And when I say the man behind the scenes, I'm saying when you look at a political congressman or senator or anything like that, they usually echo this of their major donors and financiers. And I can say this because Cori Bush, members of the squad, pretty much lost a primary in Illinois because of her stance with Palestine, and she lost to a pro-Israel liberal. That's real. So we love Dr. Umar too. So hopefully, I'll get a chance to sit down. We can, go back and forth, but I'm not a Pan-Africanist or whatever he is. I am a blood-born American black man here that's literally want to set the record straight and want to liberate God's people from this burning house called the Democratic Party, also known as democracy. And the word black is an acronym for Black, Latin, Asian, Caucasian, kinsman. And that pretty much whole gamut when it comes to humanity, because if you didn't know, there's only three races on this planet: Negroid, the blacks, the Caucasians, and then the Mongolians, and everybody done had that barbecue before. And that's a joke. So, and those are the Asians. So the Trump is pretty much break the internet. The ball's in the court of the Democratic Party. So we really want to know what the next move is going to be. But the negative content and things that, that are suspect to be president of the United States, your dark past and things about Kamala Harris are starting to come out that we've already known. But when you are running for president of the United States, there's, There's no safety nets. What it is, the Willie Brown situation. I'm seeing videos about her sleeping her way to the top. And the last story that pretty much got to me personally is that 91% of her cabinet, or 91% of her staff, have left her since she's been in office in 2020. And they're telling stories on how mean she is, how rude she is, how unprepared she is, and how she lashes out and leashes out against her employees. You have 91% of your staff that was hired to pretty much support your campaign or your vice presidency. Who would walk away from a job on that level or a job at that magnitude? Working for the vice president of the United States. And usually, when you're working for, something on that level, then, there's no way up. The only way you can go up is if they become president or if you start president. So these people are literally doing career changing moves, change moves that can actually hurt their career. But 91% of her, and I'm speaking of vice president of the Democratic Party, Kamala Harris, has pretty much abandoned her since she's become vice president. So that says a lot. So if we were pretty much a business owner and 91% of our employees quit, there's no way you could spend that. There's no way you could spend that. So how can we just sit back and continue to give passes? So we got to really be honest with ourselves. And we really got to, do what we got to do. I got some comments coming in. Okay, Miss Darkness, Mr. Dark, whatever, whoever you are, appreciate you. Love Dr. Umar. Yes, iron sharpens iron. And I really want to have this conversation. Now, this is very opinionated. I've yet to hear Trump say anything factual and anything about his currencies. Well, Tuhi. Hopefully I got that right. I watch politics like it's sports. And if you heard Kamala Harris tax on tips, that's one thing he was talking about. But Trump does say, and it's so obvious, is that he wants to secure the southern border. He wants to reduce taxes. He wants to go against inflation. Okay. And I'm not the guy. I'm just basically telling you core principles, that comes from the Republican side and core principles that Trump has said. So now the content that you hear him say is literally rhetoric and him having a conversation in general, but his policies have always been known. Okay. Kerr says he wants to give tax breaks to billionaires. Okay. Tax breaks to billionaires is pretty much giving tax breaks to the working class because the benefits from the tax breaks of the billionaires, because they create jobs. It creates situations for individuals to make money. And we know without a shadow of a doubt, he wants to secure the southern border. We know that the illegal immigration is not a thing. It's not a good thing in this country. And Kamala Harris is the border czar. And Kamala Harris has literally never been to the border. And when she was interviewed by ABC and they said, "You're the border czar, you never been to the border." And her response was, "I never Europe," and laughed. Okay, so we know without a shadow of a doubt, based on the data, we have millions of illegal immigrants coming to this country and pretty much get shipped around this country. And they're in Chicago, they're in New York, they're in LA. And then the individuals in Chicago, they're talking about protesting the Democratic convention in Chicago because of that situation, because of the illegal situation when they brought the migrants in. Migrants are getting, public assistance. Those migrants are getting debit card, things like that. So that's crazy. And let me see here, but he's flip-flopping. Well, tell me what politician doesn't. And what's Tushi, my bad. So Tushi. So yes, all politicians literally flip-flop, but you have to have some core values. And for me, I look at least three. Okay, less taxes, okay? Less inflation, that's two, and a secure southern border. Okay, I'm from Los Angeles, California, and people have gates around their homes, security cams and all of that. So if we secure our homes, we need to secure this. At least look at the basics of the their policies, because literally the nonpartisan independence, and this is one of the main reasons they had Elon Musk had Trump on, is because of the hundreds of millions independents and undecided voters. Okay, he doesn't. Now, I understand what you're saying, but there's no presidential candidate from a professional perspective that can actually run for president without policy. Now, if you are a Democrat and you see going on the Democratic side and you're more liberal, your algorithm is going to pretty much create the algorithm for you and just keep pumping into your timeline on your social media about what's going on. We know the Democrats are progressive. They're progressively moving away from God. We know the Democrats support, Kamala Harris, vice presidential electee or vice president's election. Tim Walz, I've been calling him Waltz, but his name is Tim Walz with a Z, pretty much signed an executive action for no term limits on abortion. So we know the Democrats are no term limits. Trump basically went on record himself, and I don't work for the guy and I'm not on his side. I'm a nonpartisan independent, but he pretty much said that he's wants abortion to go to the states. That's why the Supreme Court justices that he has appointed. So now that they pushed it out, the Democrats are running on Roe versus Wade. They wanted it all to be a federal situation, but all states should have their own mandates on abortion. But Trump, he did flip flop on it, and he said that the life of the mother, the life of the mother, incest or rape. Okay, and that's basic. But if it's a rape, incest, and the life of the mother is threatening, he pretty much went on record, said that that's what he supports. So let me see here. JD Vance is the most terrible pick as VP. And listen, you are totally right. You are totally right. So now that you really understand, and I agree with you, because progressive party, the Democrats being a progressive party, and they want to be inclusion, the DEI, and all the things that was going on in that black community, and segregation and slavery, the black code, the things that created the party. And you're supposed to be a progressive party, but all of a sudden you select a white man from the state of Minnesota, which is the whitest state in. You're talking about 70 million. I'm pretty much 77% white in the state. And that was the state that George Floyd was killed by the police officer, Eric. And he didn't even call the National Guard or didn't stop what was going on. He allowed the city to burn down, which was a majority black city, and that's Minneapolis. And then all of a sudden, he's the VP selection for Kamala Harris. And then to see him come and how he's a kooky, clowny, and he's a weird type of white guy, my personal opinion, those are the ones that you can't trust. Those are the ones that you can't trust, because some people will be willing to do anything to be successful. And clearly, just looking at the guy, he has that persona that he'll be willing to do and say anything, because when he signed the executive order for no term limits on abortion just because of pressure, and then when he pretty much down and allowed the city of Minneapolis to burn down to the ground during the George Floyd the George Floyd riots, this was crazy to me, and I really didn't get it. So I'm having a beautiful conversation with Tushy this morning, but so does Vance. Let me see here. Well, VP Vance, he resonates with the working class. He resonates with, the basic American, okay, because he has a story. And I'm not saying that he's any different. I'm no skin in the game, but I'm just letting you know in this conversation of, of my knowledge and what I've studied and what I do know. But when I looked at the Republican convention, and he went on record and said that his beautiful mother is in the building, and his mother has been sober, for the last 10 years, it hit me, because coming from the black community, I know that substance abuse is something, that's huge in America, especially when you have open borders. He's from a West town and working class, but when you talk about substance abuse, and he said 10 years, that means she's been on drugs for a while. And then he was actually raised by his grandmother. And then when I look in the black community, I see that. I was fortunate for my parents, my mom, to not, be addicted to drugs or anything like that. But growing up in the 70s and 80s in South Central Los Angeles, crack and drugs has ruined families. And I know it without a shadow of a doubt right now that grandparents are raising their grandkids because of the parents are not able to raise the children due to the substance abuse or due to incarceration. So I understand that aspect of it. But when you talk about pulling yourself up your own bootstraps, Vance, that didn't hurt him. He ended up going to Yale. And now he's, successful attorney, successful senator. I think it's his first or second term. He's a married, and his wife is a lawyer, and he's a family man. So that pretty much resonates more with the American dream, and it resonates because if we were to sit back and just say, well, there's a son of a drug addict running for vice president, and his name is JD, you would actually assume that that was with the Democratic Party, but the roles have switched. Okay, but the policies haven't changed, because the Democratic Party will always be the party of slavery, the party of Jim Crow, the party of the segregated South, the party of the black codes, the party of the 94 crime bill, of mass incarceration today as we know it. And now they want us to vote for a career police or career prosecutor whose job was to lock people up, and then vote for one of the most liberal Democrats in the game. And that's crazy. So we're literally, looking at a situation where, the Trump administration, they're so innovative. They have the Democratic Party scratching their heads because to copy and emulate. Because when I say what them gonna do, Elon Musk and Trump broke the internet yesterday. So I know that she's scrambling. And I've seen an email of her soliciting celebrities to come to the Democratic convention, and they will get the red carpet rolled out to them, and a bag. And when I say a bag, financial, monetary monies just for showing up. But when Trump last week sat with Aiden Ross, one of the largest streamers in the game, and then the Harris team tried to get with Kai Cenat, he has 12 million followers on Twitch, and he's also an influencer. And when she called him, or his team reached out to him, that was literally, or trying to copy Trump sitting down with the conservative Aiden Ross. But the difference is Kai Cenat pretty much said thanks but no thanks. He don't know nothing about politics. Only thing he knows that Kamala Harris locked a whole bunch of people, and it doesn't matter whether there was black, white, or indifferent, but her whole career was a public defender, to a prosecutor, to a district attorney, to the attorney general, to the Senate. So she's really the top cop in California, and now she's the border czar, which allowing the entire southern border to be open. And Trump, on the other end, wanted to build the wall. We know that. But one thing those do not know, that Kamala Harris, she is black, but she is not African-American descent. Her mother's Indian, from India, red dot. Her father is a Jamaican biracial, son of a former plantation owner. And if you Google him, and I would basically ask you to do it immediately, because I believe they're going to take it down. They should, but they have her father down as a renowned Marxist. So now they have the daughter of a Marxist, the United States president. And then when you talk about racial, or creed or anything like that, I've seen a lot of posts where people says, well, you are what your father is. Okay, so if you have a white mother and a black father, you will be black. But the roles are reversed. What is that? But we do know her father is a renowned Marxist. So does that make her a Marxist? Okay, let me see here. Not, of course, this conversation now. Thank you for your information and engagement. By the way, I agree. Now, how do you feel when, he said, I'm assuming Trump, he said he's going to give pardons to low income people, meaning black people? Well, anybody that's in office, I think, should look at the people that's incarcerated for nonviolent crimes, because marijuana is legal literally in all 50 states. So if you are in jail with a third strike, or you got a long-term sentence dealing with marijuana, I think that needs to be looked into. Now, nonviolent criminals, I believe in, the corrections. I believe in, you going and serving your time and becoming a better individuals. But there's checks and balances. So each situation is a case by case situation. And I would really, that pretty much would be a good thing, because I know there are some good people in prison right now that literally just made a mistake about no rapists, no murderers, no killers, no PDF files. And that's a code word for I don't want to be flagged. So things like that, I think we all make mistakes, and we all should be able to get a second. So individuals that pretty much check all the boxes and pretty much have gone through, some rehabilitation. Some go to prison, they get their ministry license, they get their degrees in jail. So coming out the system and putting them on some type of parole with a parole officer of some guidance and some type of probationary situation to make sure they stay on the straight and narrow. I basically applaud and agree with any politician that will basically, allow, people to get out of jail of nonviolent crimes, especially in the sense of, and that's one thing in the state of California when they passed the marijuana laws, when Harris was the attorney general or district attorney, there was 1,700 individuals that were, positioned to be released, able to get out of jail because of the, decriminalization of marijuana. But Kamala Harris did not sign the documentation, and she's on record saying, California will basically keep that free labor. So if you did not know, involuntary servitude is a thing, and that's literally reincarnated. So let me see here. You got another one now. He wants to let previous convictions stand. Now, the previous stand, if I understand what you're saying, your record is not going to be strict clean. Now, if you were convicted of a crime and things like that, that's your history. But in the sense of your going to jail, serving your time, becoming a better person, coming out into society and just pretty much living a basic life, I think anybody should have that opportunity, especially if they're, have a good standing record in jail. Like I said, I'm a people person. So I believe that each individual, especially the nonviolent crimes, the the rape and incest and the PDF files, none of those cases, but cases that, where individuals were pretty much, they made a mistake. Because sometimes, you make a mistake and you got to pretty much pay a price for just making a typical mistake. So it is what it is. So I'm trying to choose the best pick, for me. I'm a black man, and as well as I was blessed to be great, have a upbringing. So the choice is, important in 86 to 85 days. So typically, if this were, let me see here, and that's Mr. Tucci. If this were, 10 years ago, or maybe even, in 2020, I probably would have given you advice to follow the money. Okay. Because as a registered Democrat, being a mortgage loan officer, when George Bush Jr. was in office, for policy, because the Republican Party was about the money. Okay, we had a lot of investments. So in the sense of, you're looking at less taxes and things like that, you lean more to the Republican side and you have to go policy over party. But I'm a much ambassador and a surrogate for a third party. Okay, and I'm a surrogate for the Jesus Christ Write-In campaign. So you will pretty much be the perfect candidate to pretty much, don't vote for the duopoly. There is a Peace and Freedom Party. There is a Libertarian Party. There is an American Independence Party. There is a Green Party. If you did not know, Dr. Cornel West, a professor from Harvard, he has an independent, and he has a vice president by the name of Melina Abdullah, who literally was pretty much the chair for Black Lives Matters here in LA, professor and politician, political science chair at Los Angeles. So there's other candidates, and there will be a plethora of candidates on the ballot. But for me, I can't select either sides, because I know with this duopoly, it's no different than the scribes and Pharisees in the Bible that pretty much crucified Jesus. And the crucifixion of Jesus, he put us in a position of power because we have data on what he did. A lot of times, I'm aging myself. We used to wear these bracelets. What would Jesus? Okay. When I look at the book of Matthew, it tells us exactly what he did. And what he said was, in the book of Matthew, I didn't come to change the scribe or the Pharisees. I came to fulfill. So we're not here to change the Republicans and Democrats. We're here. And what did Christ fulfill? He fulfilled righteousness. So when he fulfilled righteousness, and he left us a position, because when he was on that cross, he was between a scribe, a lawmaker, a mainstream media, the whole nine, which is the Democrats, and a Pharisee, which is a hypocritical evangelical Christian, somebody that claims to be a man or woman of God, but they're racist, things like that, supporters of the KKK. We're between a rock and a hard place. So we can't be on either side. And Christ also said, if the scribe and the Pharisees has more righteousness than my people who are called by my name, then my people surely will not see the kingdom of heaven. So if you basically write your ticket, I would basically offer you Christ in the 2024 election. So you would literally go down to the bottom where all the candidates are, because you're going to have Biden and Trump at the top. Well, Harris and Trump at the top. Go all the way down to the bottom, and pretty much it's going to say write in. And you have that option on every selection, from county clerk judges, from councilmen, the whole nine. So go down to the bottom for president and write in Jesus Christ. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And this is a real thing. So we're going to roll out our campaign in September. Okay, so this is what we're doing. On my block here in LA, we have yard signs that people are pretty much putting the blood, the lamb of the blood of the lamb over their doors, like in the book of in the book of Exodus. So the famine and death and destruction will pass our home, because in the Bible it says, when I strike Egypt. So when God strikes the United States, we want to be on record for not supporting the scribes or the Pharisees or the two-party system, and our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Okay, and then like for me, there's always somebody on the ballot. There's always it'll be Trump, Hillary, or whatever, and then there's a third person that gets like roughly 3%. So what we're doing, in my job as a surrogate for the Jesus Christ campaign, is to lobby the third party option and to pretty much bring a coalition together. So when the presidency or the election day come on November 5th of 2024, the world get a chance to see, because he's not going to win, he's not going to place, but he's going to show up. We want him to show up as that third one. So whoever wins the presidency, whoever comes in second, more than likely will be the Democratic Party. And we on record that we did not support. So we didn't vote for Trump. We wrote in our Lord and Savior. So now if Trump wins, we don't have the Democratic loser group. We get an opportunity to present for Project 2025, and not the one that they're talking about. We want to talk about a constitutional amendment to take a criminalization clause off the 13th Amendment, which means that there's no private prison industrial complex. And we want to invest more in education than in the prisons. We want to end poverty in the United States, because we have the money to do so. We got money for the wars, but we need the poor. We do want to secure our southern border. We take care of home first. Okay, this is what we're doing. We call this the win-win. So we want to freeze all foreign aid. Instead of sending billions to Ukraine, billions of dollars to Israel, Taiwan, and whoever, we want to basically invest those dollars here in this country so we can be this great nation and this union. Because prior to the Democratic Party, we were a Democratic Republic, but at a Civil War, the Democrats, the Dixiecrats, the Southerners, the South wanted to preserve slavery, so they broke away from the Union. And Abraham Lincoln, the Republican, under the tutelage of Ulysses Grant, pretty much signed the Emancipation Proclamation, because Abraham Lincoln was on record saying the newly freed Negro would be an asset to this country and an asset war. And not less than 6 months after that, the war was ended. Okay. And what Abraham Lincoln did was he created a Freedmen's Bank Bureau. So we're going back to the Freedmen's. Okay, he created a Freedmen's Bank Bureau, and he put $8 million away for the newly freed slave. And what happened? He was assassinated. Democratic Southerner that was on the ticket with Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Jackson, became the president, just like Lyndon B. Johnson in the 60s. But he pretty much cut a deal with the planters, gave them an oath. They went back to their plantations, got all their, their land and plantations back. And they put the criminalization clause, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude unless criminalized. So with the criminal laws, that literally put us back into slavery. And the Reconstruction period, the South was built on entirely free labor. And we didn't deal with this until the Civil Rights Movement. So this is a thing. And then if you look at B. Johnson, he did the same thing in 1964. Okay, with the Civil Rights Acts, and put us with the Democrats and forced us to be Democrats. And we have 60 years of data showing that it wasn't a good thing, because if it was a good thing, we would have rated the 60-year anniversary of the Civil Rights Acts, because the Civil Rights Act was signed on July 5th of 20 of 1964, but we celebrated Pride. So think about that. Think about that. So let me see here, man. So can he count on you? Let me see here. Let me see. Trump has private prison in Manhattan. Well, as a black man, as a government contractor, my portfolio, I invested in private. Okay. And the sad thing about it is the stock is starting to go up now. But in the sense of the private prisons, if we were to able, basically look up BlackRock, and if you understand what's going on, then what's going to make money. So if you look at the Democratic Party as a whole, they pledge their major donors, are the private prisons, corporations of America, and companies like BlackRock and the record industry, BlackRock. BlackRock, like a rock, BlackRock, and the entertainment industry. This is the crazy thing about it, Tushi. The entertainment industry is the major investor in private prisons. This is why you could have Capcors, Sony, all the big, record labels promoting this type of rap and this type of music in the black community. Because what happens? You create a prison culture. You create a jail culture. Your artist dies, you get the insurance, and then the individuals that into the music, they're creating an ecosystem because the music is motivating and putting them on a vibration to pretty much go to prisons, which pretty much help their prison stock. So this is why, as a nonpartisan independent, also known as a theocrat, we're looking for a constitution amendment, and we know we can't be on either side. The Democrats, they push heterosexual black men out all day. So we as independents, we got to push for a constitutional amendment, somehow, some way, be able to make it a win-win. So we don't hurt their pockets financially, but we pretty much, rid the system from profiting off of the pipeline of prison, but somehow them, I would say money, or give them some type of loopholes to pretty much wash the money, meaning creative corporations. Because those same prisons that does the free labor open those jobs up to migrants, open those jobs up to the illegals, open those jobs up to individuals that literally want to work, because the government is giving, mandates and tax corporations that be willing to do so. This is why we have to separate ourselves from the two-party system, have a conversation, because we should be able to sit with both sides. When the prime minister of Israel was here, he sat with Biden, he sat with Harris and her Jewish husband, Doug, and then he went and hung out in Mar-a-Lago with Trump. So for a black man here in the United States, I'm sitting back saying, wow, I wish we had an organization, that we could sit down and talk to either side and fight for the rights of the people. Okay, because the Constitution says we the people. So we the people have to have an organized coalition and come together to work for, the win-win for them. And this is why we're literally protesting this year, abandoning the Democratic Party, writing in our God as our presidential candidate. And when the Democratic Party lose on Inauguration Day, we'll be fighting for rights of the people, and that's black people and anybody that rock with us. And like I said earlier, if you just tapped in, black is an acronym for Black, Latin, Asian, Caucasian, kinsmen, meaning we're all blood related, and there's one race, and that's the human race. But we can only be a great nation if we end racism, and this is why we got to go back to the past and see where it went wrong. And where it went wrong was not in 1964 with the Civil Rights Acts, and in 1905 with the Voting Rights Acts, because there was a whole lot of things that were inclusive, a whole lot of things that came into play at those times. And it literally hurt us to this day, because as a black man, they telling me I'm African American. The certificate says Negro. My son says black and my daughter says African American. So they changed us from a race to an ethnicity because they know it's a power in the race. Because regardless of who you are and where you come from a melanated perspective altogether, and if you count those numbers, that means we are the mass majority of society, and we literally created all humanity. So, but we don't want no common enemies. We don't want no smoke. We want to pretty much build bridges and come together and fight for the rights of all people. Now, to agree with the industrial design. So listen, we got to have these conversations. So if you didn't, hit that subscription, hit that notification, because we're going to continue to have these conversations. And I guess, some early risers. I'm here on the West Coast. I don't know where you located at. If you want to, go ahead and tap in and tell me what city you tapping in from, because here on the West Coast, it's pretty much, I started this live stream at 5 and pretty much just motivated, about life, hitting up on a daily basis to basically help the people. East Coast, I figured that out because, like I said, a lot of these liberals on the West Coast, they don't. And I'm so happy that you have an open mind. So happy that you have an open mind. This is what we're doing. So when I sit back and talk about these politics, it's like looking at a football game. I don't know. I could only go by what the Democrats do. But right now, like the topic of this discussion is what them gonna do, because I really want to find out who's going to sit down and have a long interview, approximately 2-hour interview must have with Trump yesterday. And then last week he sat with one of the largest streamers in the country, Aiden Ross, for a couple hours. And Kamala Harris doesn't even take Q&As or have any interviews. So we got to figure this thing out. So put it in the comments, man. I appreciate y'all. If y'all got any questions, I'm engaging this morning. I got several people on right now. I know y'all probably getting ready for work. It's pretty early. But I decided to just tap in, and I'm good with the Q&A. Dealing in a win-win situation. There's an answer to every question. And at least if we don't have an answer to the question, we got some type of understanding. So Trump and Elon broke the internet yesterday. And the Harris campaign is pretty much these celebrities trying to get them to come to the Democratic convention. But we don't really know what's going on. So, man, I appreciate y'all. Today is August 13, 2024. What DEM gonna do? Like I said, I don't know if they could top Elon Musk, because if you did not know, Elon Musk have over 100 million subscribers on his own platform. Okay. And that's crazy. So with that being said, man, y'all have a great day. I guess let me go through these comments, see if I missed anything. Okay, I think that's about it. It was a good conversation, good discussion this morning. And if you're just tapping in, man, I'm about to get up out of here. But if you have a question, we can do. The topic of the discussion today was what DEM gonna do after Trump and Elon Musk broke the internet yesterday. He was pretty much transparent, had a great conversation, about the shooting. I had a conversation like he was on the telephone. And I sat there and I'm watching like, man, this guy's engaging. Even if you don't like him, he's a people person. He's got wit. He got a conversation. But like I said, Democratic side, Kamala Harris, we don't know nothing about her. And the only thing we do know that 91% of her staff has quit. And these are the things that they're not talking about. These are the revolution not being televised, because Kamala Harris in her campaign, in her cabinet, 91% of her employees have quit. And when I say quit, they hired the best of the best, women from the divine, others from the divine nine, literally walked away from their jobs and quit working for her. And whatever reason, that's not a good thing, because if 91% of your staff quits, quit, that means something wrong from the top and is going on. So I really want to sit back and, get the popcorn ready and find out what them going to do. But I don't know what they're going to do. But we got to make sure that they don't, steal this election. This is why when my brothers talk about, and I hear this a lot, I'm not voting. And I sit back with my brothers, man, I'm like, bro, you got to vote, man. Okay, who we voting for? I ain't voting for Trump. And this is why I bring in Jesus Christ. And the reason I say we got to go in and vote, when they say our ancestors died to right to vote, our ancestors died because they literally was voting Republican. After John F. Kennedy, that's when they voted for him overwhelmingly. Lyndon B. Johnson wanted to keep the vote. And he was a Southerner from Texas, a racist, and they were literally going to abandon the party and go back because blacks can voters. They literally, came up with the Civil Rights Acts. And he said, I'm going to have those niggers voting Democratic for the next 200 years. And here we are. 60 years later, we get an opportunity to break the cycle. Dr. King in his last day said it himself. that he delivered his people into a burning house. And as you know, integration, pretty much hurt black businesses. They pretty much made it advantageous for them. So, man, it is what it is, man. And I appreciate you with the conversation. And, man, with that said, man, I could go on and on and on, but I'm going to go ahead and let y'all get ready for work and start y'all day. But if you haven't hit the subscription, go ahead and subscribe, like. That's it. It can only be a rhythm. But we're going to continue to have these conversations, and we're going to come up with a third-party coalition, and we're going to not win. We're not going to place, but we're going to show up on election day and write in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. When his name pop up, we're going to sit back and have a party. So with that being said, man, have a great day. This is your man, Bushawn Glover, Better Black America TV, signing out. Peace out.